video. And this time we're looking at, as I'm recording this, we're looking at a game that just came out on Steam. And it was on sale, and I remember these games fondly from back when I was growing up. So I had to check them out. And we're looking at the Double Dragon Trilogy. Now, the Double Dragon Trilogy that we're looking at here is based on the original arcade games, most of which I've never played before. I briefly remember playing the first Double Dragon near my hometown. There was, I don't remember if it was like a pizza place, or I don't remember what that place was, but I remember seeing it and playing it once, and it was like really, really freaking hard. I mean, these games were designed to just eat your quarters. The Double Dragon series is really interesting because there's a lot I love about it, and it really started the whole kind of beat-em-up, side-scroller kind of beat-em-up genre. At least they were the first ones that did it really well. But there was just some weird things about them that every time they did something cool, they did something that really annoyed me. And so most people that grew up in the 80s and around that time are probably not as familiar with the arcade games, but they're more familiar with the classic NES, the classic Nintendo Double Dragon 1, 2, and 3 games. And believe me, this game is pretty mindless, so I'm not going to babble here at the title screen. Let's get into it here, and I'll talk about kind of my experiences with Double Dragon while I show you these games, at least take a look at them. So we go to our main menu, and we have Double Dragon 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So we'll do Double Dragon 1 first, naturally. I'll give you a peek at all of them, because I find it really interesting, especially when we get to Double Dragon 3. Pay attention to... I briefly looked into these games earlier the other day when I downloaded them, but man, just watch kind of the different fluidity in how they play, and I'll point that out as we go, but there's some weird differences in these games. So let's go into Double Dragon 1. Menus are nice and clear here. I can easily tell down in the lower right there what's going on. We'll start it. I'm using the 360 controller naturally. And then you get your own little sort of title screen here with our more options. We can, we can do our main mission, we can do multiplayer. I have not played this in multiplayer yet, so maybe if Jawbreaker gets it or something, we'll play it online one time. I don't think I'll cover it on the channel because it's really not that worth it. But, you know, settings, leaderboards, pretty standard stuff. Now, when you get to this screen, it's kind of hard to actually tell what is highlighted in a way. Like, you know, I can arrow around, but it's a little tough to kind of tell what's going on. I actually found myself kind of, just to make it easier, I just take my mouse, and I'm going to click on easy just so I can babble a little bit more and not just get completely brutalized. And then you notice on the bottom we have arcade mode and story mode. I'm not entirely sure what the difference is. I tried both earlier, and I don't know. We'll just go arcade. And of course then we have our 1 or 2 player. We're going to go 1 player. Best intro ever. I love the motivation. What happens? Girlfriend gets punched in the gut, and then you go after her. That is the best. I mean, there's no long dialogue, nothing, just gut punch, and then it's on. That is just the greatest intro. I remember seeing that in the arcade and even on the NES version, and just like, that's kind of brutal, man. You just, like, gut shot my woman, man. So I can punch, I can kick, I can jump, and Y does nothing that I can tell right now. Ah! Here's one thing that really bothers me about at least this version of Double Dragon. I don't remember what the NES version does. Now, when I'm moving around the world, look at, okay, I'm walking around really smoothly, but in order to advance the screen forward, you'd think that, you know, I could do it like it would start moving when I was about here or here. I have to go way up here for it to move. Well, you move really quickly, and as I'm moving like this, like, the guy no more than just appears, and if I'm not immediately on that button, he's going to get the first hit in every time. Just because there's no room for you to see who or what is coming. So I don't like that you have to be way so far up front for the screen to advance. Now again, these guys are dying really quick because I am playing it on easy, but I want to try to get to one of the things that makes me just annoyed at these where I get frustrated with these Double Dragon games. So I can pick up weapons and stuff, like you've seen I picked up that other weapon. Would you stop it? Come here, you little... Come on. There we go. Give me that. Thank you, sir. I just bust through the wall. Okay, come on, dudes. Where are you? And, there we go. Ah! So, one of the things that, Double Dragon games always start strong. Now, whether we're talking about the arcade games or especially the NES games, they start really strong. You know, they're just fun. You walk to the right, you beat up a bunch of thugs. Each level has a little boss area. That's fine. But especially on, like I said, the NES games more so. But it's there. Ooh, wow! There is a little bit in this one too. If I get to like, I think almost the last level, I think it is. But the arcade, especially on the first game, the levels are short, so I should be able to hopefully get there fairly easily and quit climbing the damn wall and fight the guy. Okay, or do that. That's one option. But the jumping in Double Dragon has never been its strong suit. It's been, like, the controls are, other than punching and kicking, they're really clunky. So, what would happen is, like Double Dragon 1 on the NES, you would get the first level, that was fun. Second level, that was pretty good. We're on the second level technically right now. And if you've played the NES game, you should kind of recognize a variant of the music that we've heard so far. But when you get to the third level, there's a kind of, especially on the NES one, there's a little trick where you keep going to the right, and if you just keep going after you've beaten some of the enemies, the level just loops around. And it starts introducing platforming, so you have to jump across this bridge. And there's a little bit of that here, but not near as bad. Then you get to level 4, which is just a royal pain. Because when you go... Oh, really? I did not hit down. That is really dumb. Thanks, guy. The sound effects. Really? Alright. Let me get that weapon from you. Come here. Come here. There we go. Really? Let me see if I can kick a guy a little bit. Oh my god. But you get to this fourth level and there's ice, or there's like these stalactites that fall down in the cave. And they're random, and it's so easily to get hit. They take a ton of damage away. And if you get past that, then there's like a whole bunch of platforming. And like I said, this isn't like your typical like action platformer or even like a Contra where, yes, you're shooting a lot of guys, but the jumps are still decent. Your jumps are just really clunky, and the first part of the games are always, you know, pretty fun, and then you just get to this really what Double Dragon's really weaknesses are, and they focus on that the later the games go on. Double Dragon 2 was the same way, where you would get the... Come on. Let's take care of this guy. Ooh, okay. The first level was great. The second level had a little bit of platforming, but it wasn't terrible. It wasn't too hard. The third level, that was cool because you were in this helicopter, and the Double Dragon 2 did some really cool stuff. Like there was a little helicopter where it was just you're in one room and there's guys that keep coming in, and there's like a little conveyor belt next to a door, and you can like actually kick them so that they fall out of the helicopter. That was always cool. But then you got to, again, where you had to start really platforming, and there's this like stupid mansion level where, you know, if you're familiar with like the Mega Man games where you had all these disappearing platforms and you had to memorize the pattern and then actually jump between them. Yeah, you do that with Double Dragon controls, and it sucked. I actually got pretty good at Double Dragon 2. I was able to get to the last level most of the time, but I eventually did beat it, but it was tough. Double Dragon 3 on the NES, I don't know what the latter part of that game is. I'm assuming that there were probably platforming, because it's just been a pretty constant, you know, trait. Every game they seem to do it. Double Dragon 3 was just hard. The previous games, you had, you know, multiple lives like this. You could die and you could come back or continue. Double Dragon 3, nope. Enemies seem to take away more health, and you had one life, at least to start with. And if you died, you started all over. And to make things worse, in the beginning, oh really? In the beginning of Double Dragon 3, you had to sit through a whole bunch of this dialogue in this room before you could even play. So it was really tedious. You want to... Would you stop it? You want to find a funny video about Double Dragon 3, go look up the Angry Video Game Nerd review of Double Dragon 3. It's great. I didn't even remember it, but it starts out with like a typo. It was like Bimmy and Jimmy instead of Billy and Jimmy Lee. Freaking hilarious. And just he's talking about how hard it is. And it's pretty accurate. And watching his video is really the way that I found out, yes, you can get other... Here's our first platformer jump, by the way. Oh, really? Unfreaking believable. That didn't respond well. Really? What the hell? I was doing this fine the other day. Jump! Would you jump? Jesus Christ. Thank you. Yeah, really. Do you mind? Hold on, I gotta... Nice sound effect. Oh my god, I'm just getting my ass kicked. Sorry, guys. But, the way... The nerd video is where I found out that, oh, you can get extra lives, but you actually unlock these other characters that can't fight well. Like, there's a business guy, and there's, like, some other person. If you die, you can play as some of those characters, but they're terrible. Okay, would you... No, don't throw me in the water. That's not... Frick. And I don't remember... I can do, like, these elbow slams and stuff, and I don't remember the, I don't remember what the controls are for the arcade version. I know how to do it on the NES, but I'm not sure how to do it. Jesus God, man. At least kill one of these guys so I have a little more room to maneuver here. Yeah, take your weapon. Let me get your... There we go. That'll help. Okay, well, now that I killed them all. But yeah, Double Dragon 3 was just so hard. I think my friend and I, we maybe got to like the second or third level once. Even that first level was just brutally hard, and it was damn near impossible if you're playing by yourself. Like I said, that's kind of my history of Double Dragon. I mean, like I said, they started so strong. I like just beating the crap out of guys. That was great. And then the game's just, like I said, they switched modes and turned more into like this frustrating obstacle course platformer instead of what they were actually good at. Let's pick up this... Okay, or not do that. I was going to say, let's pick up that rock. Sure, whatever, buddy. I think it's after this level. If I can just get to... Alright, screw this. Let's pick you... Get... Let's see if I can get to this part that I want to show. No! Yeah, do your... Ow. Ow. The other interesting thing about Double Dragon 2 was that you see I'm doing forward punches, forward kicks. And in the Double Dragon 2, they did this thing where you punched forward and you actually kicked back, which was confusing at first, but actually kind of helpful because if you were surrounded, it was a lot easier to... it was a lot easier to kind of manage things in a way once you got used to the controls. But the weird thing that made, you know, in the arcade game here, Double Dragon 2, you have your designated punch and kick buttons. But what was weird about the NES version was that the buttons would actually switch depending on what direction you were facing. So if I was facing to the right, A would be punch and B would be kick. But if I switched over to the left... B would be punch and A would be kick, and that was really confusing initially, but once you got used to it, it kind of made sense in a weird way. In a really weird way. Okay, what do we got? Oh, let's see. Haha, you fell off the cliff, and I got blowed up. Great. Climb up the ladder. And the controls, they feel really loose. Like, they're not... I don't remember them being this kind of just loose. I remember them feeling a little tighter, I guess. You know, that's just remembering old games being better or being not quite as good as you remember. I totally said that wrong, but forgive me. I'm trying to beat this boss guy so I can try to show you what I've been trying to get to in this game. And would you stop it? All right. Come on. Would you move? Okay, thank you. Okay, I think, yes. Okay, so in addition to platforming, Double Dragon loved this technique. So I walk forward. Boom. Walls that knock you in and out. And they're random. You don't really know when they're going to come out. So you run forward and hope like hell that you can get past them. Okay. Come on. Yeah. And if you get hit by one, oftentimes you'll be triggered into another one. And, okay, game over. You know what? That's perfect, because I didn't want to play that anymore anyway. Let's go back. I'll show you Double Dragon 2 real quick. The arcade games, there's not much difference in these. They look and play pretty similar, I guess, until we get to Double Dragon 3, because Double Dragon 3 in this game is really messed up. Let's go story mode this time. Oh, okay, so you... Oh, is this where, like... Let's see, what, where you can pick a level? Huh. I don't know. Okay, whatever. Jeez, man. So you thought the other one was bad. You get, the first one, she gets punched. Now they're just like, no, they're revenged. No, we're just gonna kill him. We're just gonna kill her. Gun her down instead. This game is really hard. Let's see. Come on. Quit doing your little dance. Oh, I forgot about this. Yeah. When I was playing this the other night, Double Dragon 2, it's so 80s. Like, listen to this music. The arcade version. It's so 80s cheesy, but it's kind of great. Like 80s pop or something. It's just... I don't know what I... See, if I hit A, or if I hit... This is my... oh, I should pay attention. There was a guy that came. That was... I thought I cleared the screen enough. Get. So I can punch, but if I kick from behind. And especially when fighting bosses in this game, I find that actually to be really helpful, because your kick gives you more reach than your punches do. So I find it a little bit safer. That's some pretty rockin' saxophone you got going there. I think that's supposed to be a saxophone. It's so 80s. It's kind of good. This one kind of feels like it plays a little better. Like I said, I very briefly popped into all of these the other day when I downloaded it, but I didn't really play them very much, except for the first game. Yeah, this one seems to play a little more smoothly. Oh, really? Okay. Let me see if I can do my... I did it the other day. Trying to remember how to do my spinny jump kick thing. Yeah, okay, you can kind of do it that way, but... Come on. Give me your weapon. Well, he gave it to me. Just not quite the way I intended. Bring it. Oh yeah, more voice samples in 2. Oh, this guy's a pain. Okay, so this is what I find. Oh, and I hit the wrong button. Really? That's what you're gonna do? Okay. Oh, for God's sake. Get up! Quit grabbing me. I'm trying to move away, you dink. Okay. I'm gonna try to do the kick. So this seems to work fairly well. Just get over here. They get harder, trust me. And again, I'm playing it on easy, so just to show you guys a little bit of these games. You know, having played the arcade games, I definitely prefer the NES games overall. I mean, I like the fact that you're beating guys up pretty much all the way through the arcade games, but just something about, maybe it's just nostalgia, but at least the first parts of all the Double Dragon games on the NES, I really like. Despite the frustrations of the platforming and kind of this obstacle nonsense later on in these games, I still really do kind of like the NES games. Not so much 3, because it was just hard, but they're not bad. You know, then you got games like the Final Fight series on the Super Nintendo, Streets of Rage, of course, on the Sega Genesis, and and a lot of, like, you know, there was a Captain America game, there were Batman games, there was a Superman beat 'em up. I mean, there's a bunch of franchise games that were this style, but nothing, in my opinion, comes close to the greatness that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. I remember playing the arcade game in an arcade once, and that was pretty great. I was like, hey, this is cool. But the Super Nintendo version of that game is just... If you want a fun brawler like this with some kind of nice twists and extra gameplay things to it, good music, you know, Turtles were everywhere back in the early 90s, super popular. I wish I could cover, if I could cover old consoles, like if I was able to record my Retron 5 that I have, I would so cover Turtles in Time, because that game is just so good. That was one of the cases too where, you know, where most of the time you had your arcade games were better looking and sounding, and you know, the console games had to be toned down a little bit. This is one of the first instances where the arcade games, or the Super Nintendo version of Turtles in Time, was better than the arcade version. I mean, they added so much more stuff, so much more characters and extra levels, and just... Oh, it was so good. Yeah, Turtles in Time was amazing. Alright, I'll try to kill this brute, and then there's not, like I said, there's not much... Would you stop? There's not much more to show. I mean, it's Double Dragon. You run to the right, you kick, you punch, you do some of the special attacks that I don't remember how to do, especially in the arcade game. Alright, screw this. I can hit select, and we're just going to go to quit. Yes. And I will show you Double Dragon 3. So, remember how smooth these other games are. I don't know if the emulation in Double Dragon 3 is bad in this port, or if because I have never played Double Dragon 2 or 3 in the arcade. But wow, Double Dragon 3 is kind of hard to play and hard to watch. So when I go into this, watch this. I'll just go easy again. Click that. We'll just do that again. single player. Look at the anime. Look at how choppy this is. Like, there's no frames of animation. Like, I'm hitting to the right or the left and punching, and it's just... It's not the video recording software. The game is this choppy. It is bad. So now I can kick to the front again. So there's way more guys here. I mean, it's kind of fun. I mean, I want to like it, but... Look at it. There's like 3 frames of animation. It's just... The other ones were just so smooth. I mean, maybe they didn't have as many frames, but when you were moving around, or at least it felt like when you were actually playing it, it felt smooth. This is just... Oh my god. Do you mind? Come here. Okay, let's go in here. I'll show you one thing that's different about 3. This was not in... I don't think there was a store in 3, or if there was, I don't remember. I never got far enough to get in. So I can buy things in here. Yeah, she had limited some speech there.
You can use new tricks. Energy. You cannot gain more energy.
Okay, whatever. Oh my god, it's just... Maybe, I don't know. No, look at that. It's like, doot, doot, doot. That looks horrible. I don't know if, like I said, I wonder if the original, I'll have to go like watch a YouTube video of the, and maybe it's someone's actual arcade game, because I can't imagine that the original arcade game was this choppy. I would have to assume, or I guess I would like to assume, that this port is just really bad. This is so... See, now it's fine. Look at that. He's actually walking smoother. Look at that. When the stage moves, it's fine. But, okay, so yeah, when the stage stays still, it is choppy as hell. But as I'm moving forward, it's smoother. Well, go figure. That makes no sense to me at all. Like, even his walking animation was smoother. What the hell? Yeah, this is... Oof. This game might actually be pretty fun if it didn't play like a slideshow. Wow. Kill it. I'll get to the first boss and then I think we'll call it. But yeah, I mean, this is Double Dragon Trilogy. We're looking at Double Dragon 3 right now, but okay, I can go in there. Oh, I hate this part. I did play up to this point in 3 before. Oh, maybe I'll stop it here. I hate doing this. They did this in, I think, Streets of Rage, too. I've seen this in a couple times. We had to, like, jump and, like, kick a guy. Come here. Alright. Widget. And the choppiness is not helping. Trust me. Yeah, you know what? Screw this. I'm not even going to bother. That is Double Dragon Trilogy. If you get it for cheap, you know, I mean, if you want to explore or go back and look at the old Double Dragon games, like I said, these are the arcade games that people might not be as familiar with. They're not the NES games, which are definitely different. There's more to them, albeit some of it is frustrating. But, you know, being a classic fan of the franchise, I had to check it out. It was on sale a little bit, having just come out, but... Yeah, would I recommend this version? Not really, no. I mean, if you got it for like $1 or something during a Steam sale and you wanted a few extra, I don't know, Steam trading cards, or just wanted to play through a brawler, you know, fine, but if it was like, you know, generally I think it's like, what is it, $7-8? You get 3 games, but they're all very similar, and like I said, Double Dragon 3, I don't know if it's the port or the game itself, but that's bad. If you're a real fan of Double Dragon, sure, get it when it's cheap, but there are, even on Steam, there are better brawlers to play. I think after I'm done recording this video, I'm actually going to just really quickly jump into and record They did a modern kind of reimagining of Double Dragon 1, or the Double Dragon series, called Double Dragon Neon. And that has some of its own kind of issues, but there was a lot of things in that game that I thought were really cool. So expect to see that on the channel as well. You could get that, you could get Castle Crashers, which I covered on the channel. There's a Dungeons and Dragons game. I mean, I don't know. I think there's at least a couple or a few more of these kind of brawlers, and I would say they're pretty much all. I haven't played the Dungeons and Dragons one yet, but I would assume they're all probably better than this. So I love the Double Dragon series. I loved it back in the day, but it hasn't aged as well. So make of that what you will. Hope you guys enjoyed this look at Double Dragon Trilogy, and otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you again in the next one.